Hey everyone, I'm Nat.
And I'm Frank.
And you're watching Mindsets and Movements, a special installment of Fast Frames. In this series, we're exploring the connections between culture, cognition, and our public conversations about social issues.
For 25 years, the Frameworks Institute has been studying cultural mindsets. These are widely shared, deeply held patterns in thinking, the often unnoticed assumptions we use to make sense of our world. But what happens when these assumptions prevent us from imagining and creating a better, more just world?
Take the American cultural mindset of consumerism. This is the idea that we get access to the goods and resources that we use in our lives by buying and selling things. We rely on this assumption all the time without even thinking about it. And it's not that it's wrong. I bought the coffee that I drank this morning, clearly. But what happens when this buying and selling way of seeing the world is applied to everything? What do we miss? What do we lose as a society when we think of things like education or healthcare or water through this consumerist lens?
Before you dive into the rest of the videos, here are a few things to know about cultural mindsets. First, cultural mindsets are implicit understandings of the world, meaning they shape our thinking in ways we might not realize. Like with consumerism, we may not be conscious that we think of some things as consumer goods and others as public resources, but that thinking is happening for all of us all of the time.
Second, cultural mindsets are widely shared. This means that people across demographic groups and in different parts of the country have and use these ways of thinking to make sense of the world. For example, the idea that the system is rigged, we know is broadly held. You can find evidence of it across the country. And it's powerful in the way that it informs all kinds of opinions that we hold on the surface about our political system, our economic system, and beyond.
Third, we all hold multiple mindsets that we use to think about the world around us. Now, take an example. Someone may view healthcare through a consumerist lens when they're sitting in their doctor's office and the doctor's running late. They feel this way because they paid for the service. When thinking with this mindset, it's difficult, if not impossible, to see healthcare as a public resource.
But that same person, when considering issues like water or air quality, may view healthcare as a collective good. And while a mindset isn't necessarily wrong or right, it can certainly be helpful to think about them as productive or unproductive. Now, productive mindsets open people up to new ideas and solutions and invite them into public conversations. Whereas unproductive mindsets tend to close down conversations and shut down deliberate thinking.
Maybe the most important thing to know about cultural mindsets is that the choices we make in how we say what we have to say determine which of these ways of thinking get pulled up to the forefront, and this shapes how we see the world around us.
In the rest of the videos in this series, we'll walk through 3 cultural mindsets that get in the way of efforts to build a better, more just world. They are individualism, otherism, and fatalism. And we've been doing research for a quarter of a century and across issues from health to education, racial justice to climate change. And we see these 3 foundational mindsets show up again and again in this work.
In each episode, we'll take a look at what the unproductive mindset is, how it works, and how we can communicate about social issues in ways that open up more productive and expansive ways of thinking about them. And in episode 5, we'll explore the remarkable changes that can happen when we work together to strategically move mindsets in a productive direction.
Just think, what would it look like if our default assumption was that some things like healthcare or education were a public good rather than a consumer product? What if we had bigger, more expansive ways of thinking about addressing things like poverty or climate change? And what kinds of decisions would we make if we took for granted that change was actually possible?
When you're ready to dive into this series, please check out episode 2 for how to counterbalance individualism with systemic thinking.
Thank you all very much for joining us, and frame on.